few more resources to look at on the Moodle. I'll push on with Radio National for a quarter of an hour. And so when you come in here, log on quickly, and that means I'll be able to register your computer and you'll see the display. So let's go. 3, 2, 1. Bingo. Under listening, Radio National. I hope you're keeping up with your listening there. On your phone probably is your best.
We are not seeing anything at all.
Not seeing anything?
Yeah.
Lost the screen. Okay, thanks. Okay, I'll try once more. May go, may not. No luck?
Now we are seeing.
No.
It's working.
Hmm?
It's working.
It's working?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Okay. Okay, Radio National. It's very random. It's something to do with the resolution, but no technical person can fix this. We got talked about naked science. I talked about Occam's razor. I think we're up to here. Philosopher's zone. Okay, if you're interested in critical thinking, philosophy, that's a pretty good show. All sorts of stuff. On uploading your mind. Okay, life and death, Socrates, dreaming and Descartes. The big questions, the sort of complexity of evil. What does that actually mean? What's the definition of it, etc. Romantic love. The will of the people, issues of democracy. You learn a lot about the history of thinking here too. Not always Western. Often I've seen and heard stuff on Chinese philosophy, Buddhism, Hinduism, Hindu concepts, Islamic notions, etc. You'll find quite a lot there. We do tackle, we haven't yet, we're going to start today, critical thinking in this course, and of course philosophy is perhaps the ultimate form of critical thinking, just questioning everything, subjecting it to logical analysis. So you'll get a lot of the language of, even if it's not concepts, the language itself of critical thinking in a show like this. This has a transcript, at least it used to. Let's have a quick look. So there's a transcript. Not on that one. Okay, it might be too recent. No, it's not that recent, is it? Maybe they've given up with the transcripts for that, but the earlier ones do. Anyway, that's Philosopher's Zone under P. PM is the evening current affairs program, which again, AM and PM should be kind of part of the daily diet, but don't just stick to current affairs short stories, something like Philosopher's Zone, half an hour of kind of drilling in and going deep into a topic. That will, I guess, test your listening in a different way than just short bursts of news. Listening to just news or short current affairs isn't enough. Basically, in your academic and professional life, sometimes you're going to be listening to long developed arguments or explanations, aren't you? And that involves a different kind of listening process. So again, just like anything, try to vary the type of listening you're doing, even the length. Rear vision is really good. Rear vision, I've mentioned already, like a rear vision mirror, looking backwards in the car. So what these two women do is very quickly put together, sometimes within a week, a historical background to an event or argument or discussion or whatever that's happening currently. So Kurds, of course, are going through a lot of crises with ISIS and so on, fighting in Kobani. There's a history of the Kurds there. Very brief, of course. It's only half an hour. But referendums. Why do you reckon they might have put... Okay, referendum, asking the total population, adult population of a nation, what they think about an issue. Usually to change the constitution. Now, why would these guys have put up this one in the last couple of weeks? Why is referendum part of...
Is it because of same-sex marriage?
Yeah, that's right. Well done. Yeah. Tony Abbott saying, okay, we won't pass it in Parliament, we'll go for a referendum on the issue. Yeah. So they're looking at the history of referenda. Now, have a look at the record. This is quite well known. Australia's track record, historical record, of changing the constitution via referendums is low. Only 8 out of 44 referendums held have achieved a yes vote. So, what's that, 20%? So there's an 80% chance it won't pass. That's probably got a lot to do with why Tony Abbott wants to go that way on the gay marriage issue. 80% chance it won't get through. Whereas if there was a conscience vote in Parliament, most parliamentarians would vote it through. That bill is being, the law for discussion in Parliament is being presented today, isn't it? And as you may know, Tony Abbott has forced the Liberals to all vote together as a party and not have what they call a conscience vote. Conscience, like what you morally feel is correct. Now, the Liberal Party historically has always said, we are the party of individuals, and we're not like the Labor Party that force people to vote one way. It's a party policy. So, but Tony Abbott's overriding that on this issue because he's very strongly anti-gay marriage. Very traditional Catholic, conservative. So all this is behind the... so it's a political tactic to delay same-sex marriage. But what they do here is explore that, the background of it. Why have Australians been reluctant to pass referenda? Now, see that, referendums? Strictly grammatically, I much prefer referenda. Yeah? It's like phenomenon, phenomena. Although that's Greek, this is Latin. But curriculum, curricula. That is the nicer plural. You see this a lot now, but the classic plural, you stay within the Latin grammar pattern. So, I mean, you choose, but it does sound nicer. Anyway, yeah, look, China's stock market crash. What's the history leading up to that crash, etc.? The foreign fighters going off to fight in Syria or Iraq, etc., etc. They cover international things, as you can see, but also there's one that's quite national, local. The housing bubble that burst in the 1880s. We had one here. The house I live in was built during the housing boom of the 1880s, and as I've mentioned to you already, followed not long after, 1890s, depression. Remember how the Labor Party came out of the struggles of the depression in the 1890s? Usually in capitalism, just before a depression, there's a boom, isn't there? And that was the boom period. So they're looking at that. Marriage equality, yeah, there's the history of it in Australia, probably, etc. So on. It's a really good show. It fills you in with background on current affairs or controversial issues. You may find your topic, your essay topic, in there. Anybody come across material for their essay related to this program? No? You may. So, one thing I've mentioned before in terms of researching ABC, you can go back to the ABC and search within the ABC box. You can also, I think, maybe they've changed it. It looks like you can only search Radio National here. You used to be able to search within a particular program. I don't think you can anymore. It doesn't say search Rear Vision there. I used to have that function. So you're still searching within the whole Radio National. But that would be possibly a better search than searching the whole ABC. You can vary your level of searching. Okay, moving on. We're up to R. Push on. If you've come in late, just look at the person next to you, like the screen, please. All right, we've got religion and ethics, again like philosophy issues. There's the breakfast show, there's the drive show. So driving home from work or TAFE or whatever, the kids, they often have discussion topics. That's quite popular. There are, that will keep you up definitely with current affairs. This guy, Dyson Hedson, new name, Hayden, sorry. That's an interesting one. Speech errors by natives. This guy's been looking at errors in the speech of natives. This is in the news because there's a royal commission into trade unions set up by the Abbott government, and it's always been accused by the Labor Party and the union movement of what we call being a witch hunt against trade unions. So it's really politically motivated. It's not really that interested in finding out objectively what's happening. Its plan is to get trade unionists up in court and really just subject them to all sorts of analysis and attack and so on. Now, really, it's, the Labor and the trade union position has pretty much been proven by the fact Dyson Hayden, it was revealed last week, went to a Liberal Party. He's the guy who is the judge at the head of the commission. He went to a Liberal Party fundraiser and spoke. So he's clearly, very intimately connected with that party. So he's not an objective figure at all. And they're arguing the whole commission should be scrapped, thrown out. So, there's that discussion, etc., etc.
When you say you didn't realise it was a fundraising party, when you get there, then you realise that.
But if you go to a Liberal Party function, you're going to know it's a Liberal Party function, aren't you? What are you doing there?
That was his excuse.
Yeah. I'm sure he invented something. The science show we have covered. That's good, so you know about it, Lynn. That's good stuff. Yeah, so look, that was RN Drive. So again, it's a bit like breakfast and AM and PM. Spirit of things is sort of religious, spiritual sort of stuff. Religious history sometimes. Yeah, often you can see there Christianity, Buddhism, religious view of gay marriage. So that's the spirit of things. Under S.
Quite interesting, the Dalai Lama, that program.
Yeah, did you listen to that one, did you? Okay.
No, I'm really interested.
Right, yeah.
His background is...
He is an interesting guy, yeah.
And very harmony when he speaks.
Harmonious adjective,
Yeah.
when he speaks.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
he speaks.
Yeah. Laughs a lot.
Yeah, really laugh.
Pretty.
Very clear and easy to
He
understand
is, yeah.
what
He's
he understands.
a great
what he
communicator.
talk about.
Those are actually, This American Life is kind of interesting. You get a lot of American accent, of course. There's business there for those who are economists or whatever. That one's more sort of stories and people telling stories, which is kind of good to listen to. The business report, there's not a lot of business on Radio National, but you have to go there and get it off the BBC, actually. It's a kind of a link to the BBC. All right, well, that's our tour of Radio National. A couple of things on the ABC, more generally. So, a couple of people mentioned television. Don't get all your listening from television, though. Make sure a lot of it's from radio, because that's pushing your listening. It's harder, isn't it? But anything harder is probably going to be pushing your listening more than television. If you think of television, you think of the, even in documentary, if you think of the language, what happens in television, a lot of visuals tell the story, and the language is kind of, it's not connected to each other. So all that connection that you're often getting, which you have to get in radio, because the only way of connecting ideas is through language, there's no other way. In television, it's much more disconnected, the ideas, in language. Not the ideas in the piece, but there's a certain amount that's communicated visually and a certain amount that's communicated through listening. And so television is more broken up. So it's a different kind of listening. And if you're going to, prepare yourself for listening to lectures or long periods of communication in meetings and so on, then really radio and longer pieces on radio are going to give you that sort of practice. So, however, we can use TV for a few things. If we go there, just a few important programs that will develop cultural knowledge as well. Okay, under F. Some of you might already be using it, don't know. F4, F-O-U-R, Four Corners. You can just Google Four Corners ABC, you'll get it. Every time. It's got iView. Now, that's always on Mondays, and I just think you should reserve that time for yourself. Put the kids to bed, turn on the telly at 8:30 and say to the family, this is my English development time, this is my cultural development time. Yep. And you can do the dishes, I'm going to go and watch Four Corners. And do it. Okay, this one's on, as you can see, CIA torture program in the US, so it's an international one. Yeah, and this is when it's repeated on television. If we go previous episodes, so here, if we go back. Is that one? Is that it? Yeah. 24th of the 8th. No, that's... No. I need to go back. Okay, so we go back to episode 25. Okay, that's on France and Charlie Hebdo. I'm just trying to find an Australian one. That's London. Okay, yeah, so that was about crime in Australia. We want to watch that. No, it's not working. Yeah, I want that, so... How do I get that? Visit website. Maybe it's just... Okay, so we'll visit the website of Four Corners. There we are. That's better. These are the past ones. That one's a good one. You learn a lot about Australia from that. This is one of the richest men in Australia, Twiggy Forrest.
No, not now.
He's rapidly losing it, it's true.
Losing it. I watched this one too.
Yeah.
And I watched the...
He hasn't lost it all yet, though. He will...
It sounds like he just
he's on the edge.
promote himself.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely.
Actually, he still stands very firm. He got plenty of money.
Yeah.
They work that out, a lot losing around, owing a lot to people.
Yeah, he owes a lot of money, and he's playing a very dangerous game, and he's a small player and the two giants, which is BHP and Rio Tinto, are out to destroy him by purposely overproducing iron ore and pushing the price down so that he, as a minor player, gets destroyed. If iron ore goes to $40 a tonne, it's currently around 50, 60. If it goes down to 40, he will be destroyed. And Rio Tinto and BHP are planning to do that. So it's war between big capitalists in Australia. So
same as the supermarket now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
exactly. Everything coming
Yeah, Coles and Woolworths, a price war,
that's right.
trying to destroy smaller players or new people on the market.
But as you say, what you pay, what you get, that's another thing we be worried
Yeah,
about.
that can reduce quality overall.
That's right.
Whether it's on the mind site or the world stage.
So what you get here is a transcript. There's always a transcript with Four Corners. And it's 45 minutes. you get a lot of visual support with the imagery, of course, help your understanding. And I think if you work through them and past episodes. Sorry about earlier on. I should have gone direct to the site. Past episodes, you'll get many, and some of them are international, which, you know, by all means watch, but I'd say 2/3 would be on Australia. So, you know, coal in Australia, this one, etc. See, there's Mexico and so on, but okay, that one. Some of you I know work in the medical area. The bullying of young doctors in our hospitals. Bastardisation means very tough treatment and kind of harassment. So that might be a bit of a surprise. I haven't watched that one. It would be pretty interesting. Here's remote communities, Indigenous communities, life there. That's very good. So that was a great one, actually. I mean, that was on the Kurdish women fighting ISIS. That was amazing. So that is absolutely Australia's best current affairs show. It's been running for 50 years. Best quality journalism. These people win awards over and over and over again. You know. So watch that for sure.
Every Monday night.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Basically at 8:30, I would recommend you watch that. At 9:15, I'm just going to go to.
I think before that is the Australian story.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Which we're going to have a look at, and I'll just go after that for one.
Oh, start today. Start tonight. Today's Monday.
Yeah,
Don't start
yeah,
today.
that's right. You can start tonight. Mediawatch. Now, after Four Corners, straight away, there's 15 minutes of this program.
But I can't get him though.
Yes,
I don't know why.
Difficult, yeah.
Difficult to understand. Yeah.
I understand him, but he picked those little corner about they talking about something
Right.
not correct or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But not
These
really
are-
any of interest in it.
Right. Well, just keep going with it, because look, a lot of it depends on kind of knowledge of the media to some degree, you know. But by watching it, you will learn more. It'll just slowly develop. But in terms of critical thinking, you know, media, of course, we get most of our information probably from media. So if you want to know how it gets created and constructed, you've got to be aware of the nature of the media and
their attitude. Yeah.
the bias,
Yeah.
the bias behind it, and deliberate falsification, making false information often. And they do a very good job of pulling things apart. People send in from around the country stuff each week, and then they go and investigate it. And it will really develop your critical analysis of what's being presented. Yeah, so that's only a quarter of an hour, and I think there's a transcript for that. So, heading back. After that, straight away after that, Q&A. Who knows Q&A?
Arguing.
Yeah. Now again, this would be very good for cultural development. You get to know key figures. Many of the public intellectuals who we look at next term appear on Q&A, plus many others. So here's tonight. We've lost the list. What about that? Forwards again. Right, there's the list. So he's the current leader of Australian Greens, the new leader. And you can see, it's moving on. Go back. There it is. He's been in the news recently, just today, saying companies are avoiding tax in Australia by changing their figures and making it look like they've earned all their money in Singapore and then getting Singaporean tax, which is like 10% or whatever,
That's
instead
true
of the
though.
30% company tax. So Australia's losing billions of dollars. So he's been speaking out recently. This guy is a strange guy. He used to be on the left, and he's now become quite far right wing. Brendan O'Neill. Yeah, and okay, you've got traditional marriage, so anti-gay marriage. advocate there. And yeah, there'll be a whole lot of topics that get thrown at them from the audience. It's always from the audience. Who's watched that show already? Yeah. Good. You will learn a lot about key figures in the country and a lot about debates, what's being discussed and issues and so on. So I would do 6 months worth of that at least and see how you feel your knowledge has developed. And if you feel it's worthwhile, keep going. Now, so that would take you to, I think there's an hour of that, isn't it? So 9:30, that takes you to 10:30 anytime. But before that, as was mentioned, Australian story. So Monday night is a big one. AUS. Now, of course, you can obviously split this up and, you know, put it through the week. Now you've got the internet. You don't have to watch it all on Monday night. But this one is really pretty important for a very different reason. Totally different reason. This will certainly develop your cultural knowledge as well. Absolutely. It's stories of ordinary average people and their families. As it's actually, sorry, I'll just go back because it says...
That's really true stories.
They are all true, yeah. Well-known and not so well-known Australians share their remarkable personal stories. So anybody with an extraordinary story, for whatever reason, is often on the show. Now, it's been going for quite a long time, almost 20 years. Okay, so what's this one about? Interesting, yeah. This woman, Australian woman, went to Cambodia, working in the Australian Embassy. Many years later she went back and she founded 3 orphanages. She's looking after all these kids, so quite a story there. There's the video, and these have transcripts. Now there are previous shows there, and there are lots of previous shows, because we can go up here and look at previous episodes. Just swing over and look at the screen, just that you can see it's open there. Yeah, look, there are more there, they keep going and going, there are lots of them. Now, the point of these is, let's see if I can find one. Alright, these are 2 people involved in a road crash. Now, full program. I'm just selecting this one because my guess is what we'll get is ordinary voices. And this is the key for you. If one of the reasons you're here is to develop your kind of Australian English and being able to listen to the average person, you know, serving you or at a party or some friend, person in the street, whatever, you get to know, neighbour, and that Australian accent and the slang and all the idioms, this is one of the best shows, this is one of the best resources that you can use because, well, let's watch a bit and we'll listen to a bit of the language. I've got no idea, I've never seen this before, it's just selected at random. I'll just leave it on small screen because the sound is more important.
Hello, I'm Caroline Jones. Tonight's Australian story begins on a chilly Saturday night in Melbourne, May 2004. 2 young men who'd never met found themselves on a collision course. In a fatal second, everything changed for them and for their families. And as we're about to see, the consequences of that weekend are still very real today.
It'd be a lot easier if I didn't have a conscience. I could shut that off. I can't, and I really wouldn't want to anyway.
Morning everyone. My friends and I are here for a reason, and a very good reason. We're hoping to save a life or 2 amongst you. And we hope you realise that life is very fragile.
great shame and embarrassment that I relay my story to you all. What does it feel like to kill a man? Well, I can tell you, it dominates your thoughts. It can reduce a grown man to tears at any time.